What if I told you one photo posted 7 days before a wedding was enough to almost change everything? And what if that photo was not about health, but about control? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will see this family in a way you never have before. And if you want real breakdowns, real psychology, and the truth reality TV will not say out loud, hit subscribe right now and join the Coco Gossip family, because once you see this, you will never watch the show the same way again. Welcome back to Coco Gossip, where we do not just replay reality television moments, we decode the psychology behind them. And what we are about to unravel might be the most calculated twist in this entire saga. Because just when the countdown to Janelle Brown's wedding reached a fever pitch, when invitations were delivered, the venue finalized, the flowers ordered, and supporters across the internet were celebrating her fresh start, a single, unexpected post shifted the emotional temperature overnight. A photo quietly uploaded by Robin Brown showing Kody Brown lying in what appeared to be a hospital setting, monitors attached, expression solemn, accompanied by a short message asking for prayers and nothing more. No explanation, no confirmed diagnosis, just enough ambiguity to spark immediate concern. And within seconds, the focus that had finally centered on Janelle and her happiness redirected back toward Kody. And that redirection is where the story truly begins, because timing in highly public families is rarely coincidental, especially when emotions, reputations, and long histories are involved. The post surfaced exactly 1 week before the wedding, a moment that symbolized finality, independence, and public closure. And instantly, congratulations transformed into questions. Is he seriously ill? Is the wedding in jeopardy? What is happening behind the scenes? And this sudden narrative pivot raises the central question that keeps viewers watching. Was this a genuine medical scare, or a dramatic moment intensified by circumstance and history? Because stress reactions are real. Panic symptoms can feel overwhelming, chest tightness, racing heartbeat, dizziness, all very frightening experiences. And insiders suggest that after medical evaluations, there were no signs of structural heart damage, no immediate life-threatening findings, only elevated stress indicators, exhaustion, and heightened anxiety, which, while serious, do not necessarily indicate catastrophe. And that distinction matters, because the language surrounding the situation quickly escalated beyond confirmed facts. Terms like cardiac episode, near collapse, and critical whispers circulated informally despite reported stability. And when language intensifies without detailed clarification, perception can expand beyond reality, creating urgency where there may be precaution. And urgency, especially at a time like this, carries emotional weight. Because Janelle was not just planning a ceremony, she was stepping publicly into a new chapter after years of complex family dynamics. And for someone accustomed to being the focal points of a large, interconnected household, that transition could represent profound identity disruption. Psychologists often describe how major life changes, particularly those involving separation and public redefinition, can trigger acute stress responses, especially when control, relevance, and belonging feel threatened. And sometimes the body mirrors that internal turbulence through physical symptoms. So it is possible that genuine distress occurred, yet the framing and timing introduce layers of complexity. Because when communication remains vague, speculation fills the vacuum, and speculation moves quickly, especially within communities that have watched years of televised conflict, growth, reconciliation attempts, and emotional highs and lows. And for the children, this created a delicate emotional crossroads. Imagine preparing speeches, selecting attire, coordinating travel, while hearing that your father might be facing a serious health concern. The instinct to pause celebration is natural. Loyalty and compassion do not disappear with conflict. Yet, according to conversations circulating close to the family, instead of immediate panic, the children sought confirmation. They asked questions. They looked for verified information. And when reassurance came that he was stable, perspective shifted. And that shift may represent the most significant transformation in this entire narrative, because historically, moments of tension often redirected the family emotional climate. But this time, the center held. Janelle reportedly chose not to rush in distress, not to postpone preparations, but to acknowledge the situation respectfully with a simple "get well soon" card. A gesture understated, composed, neither dramatic nor dismissive. And that action speaks volumes about boundaries, because boundaries are not cruelty, they are clarity. They communicate care without surrendering stability. And as wedding day approached, anticipation mingled with unresolved tension. Would there be updates? Would another announcement attempt to redirect attention? Would guilt overshadow joy? Yet, when the ceremony unfolded, photos revealed something telling. The children appeared present, engaged, relaxed, their expressions not strained by hidden anxiety, suggesting that they had grounded themselves in facts rather than fear. And this outcome reframes the entire incident, because if the original post intended to pause celebration, it did not fully succeed. The wedding continued, the vows were exchanged, laughter echoed, and that continuity challenges assumptions about influence and control within evolving family systems. Meanwhile, the silence surrounding further medical updates deepened curiosity, because if circumstances were critical, one might expect detailed follow-up. Yet reports indicated steady recovery and normal discharge procedures, reinforcing insider claims of stress-related symptoms rather than acute crisis. And here lies the suspenseful layer that keeps audiences invested. Was the original framing an overreaction born of emotion? Was it protective privacy misunderstood by outsiders? Or was it a strategic amplification of vulnerability at a moment when public sympathy could shift narratives? Regardless of motive, the response from Janelle and her children demonstrated measurable growth, choosing verification over reaction, presence over panic, and celebration over interruption. And that growth may mark a turning point more significant than any hospital image, because it suggests a redistribution of emotional gravity within the family dynamic, no longer orbiting a single mood, but stabilizing around shared values of autonomy and resilience. And as discussions continue across fan communities, the emphasis increasingly moves from questioning illness to recognizing boundaries, highlighting how perception can expand rapidly when timing intersects with history, and how maintaining composure under scrutiny can redefine narratives in ways confrontation never could. And we return again to that initial photo, because its impact was not determined by how many panicked, but by how many paused, considered context, and chose joy informed by clarity. And that deliberate pause may symbolize the quiet transformation unfolding within this family, one where dramatic gestures no longer guarantee centrality, and where celebration can coexist with concern without being eclipsed by it. And as this story continues to evolve, one truth remains consistent. Growth often reveals itself not through loud declarations, but through steady decisions made under pressure. Decisions that protect peace, honor commitment, and signal that while the past shapes us, it does not have to dictate the future. As the wedding day moved from anticipation into reality, the emotional tension that had hovered over the previous week seemed to dissolve, not because questions vanished, but because clarity replaced speculation. And that distinction is critical, because when a family long accustomed to reactive cycles chooses steadiness instead of chaos, it signals evolution rather than avoidance. And while conversations online continue to dissect the hospital photo, analyze the timing, and debate motive, the atmosphere at the ceremony itself reportedly reflected focus, warmth, and intentional presence, suggesting that whatever concern initially surfaced had been contextualized and addressed privately through verified information rather than public assumption. And that shift in response pattern may be the most defining development in this entire sequence of events, because historically, dramatic moments often redirected collective attention within the family. Yet this time, the celebration remained intact, and observers noted the visible ease on the faces of the children, who, in prior seasons, often appeared caught between emotional loyalty and personal boundaries. now standing confidently beside their mother, smiling, participating fully in a milestone that symbolized stability and new beginnings. And that visible composure invites a broader reflection on how family systems adapt when members redefine their roles, because identity shifts can feel destabilizing, particularly for individuals whose sense of importance has long been reinforced by central positioning within a group. And when that positioning changes abruptly, the psychological impact can manifest through stress reactions, heightened sensitivity, or amplified communication. Yet, manifestation does not automatically imply manipulation, and nuance matters, especially in public narratives where limited information can inflate interpretations. And so, as reports circulated that medical evaluations indicated manageable stress-related symptoms rather than critical illness, the conversation gradually recalibrated, moving from alarm to analysis. And with that recalibration came an acknowledgement that major life transitions can be emotionally overwhelming for everyone involved, not only the person celebrating change, but also those adjusting to its implications. And this recognition does not invalidate boundaries, nor does it diminish the importance of measured responses. Instead, it highlights the complexity of human reactions during times of loss, redefinition, and public scrutiny. And while some viewers framed the initial post as strategic, others emphasized the possibility that heightened emotion influenced communication choices in a moment of vulnerability. Either way, the outcome demonstrated that the anticipated ripple effect did not materialize. The wedding was not postponed, speeches were delivered, music played, and joy was visible and sustained. And in the days following the ceremony, updates suggested recovery progressed without complication, reinforcing the interpretation that the event represented acute stress rather than enduring medical crisis. And this progression underscores a vital lesson about perception in the digital age, how quickly narratives can escalate based on limited details, and how equally quickly they can settle once context emerges. And within that arc lies the true suspense of this story, not whether a hospital visit occurred, but whether established emotional patterns would repeat. And when they did not, when celebration continued without visible fracture, it marked a subtle yet powerful redistribution of influence, because influence thrives on reaction, and when reaction is replaced by reflection, its intensity diminishes. And this dynamic appears central to the transformation unfolding here, as the family navigates a new chapter defined less by volatility and more by intentional boundaries. And observers also noted that the tone of public conversation evolved as well, shifting from immediate concern toward thoughtful discussion about growth, accountability. So, in the end, the wedding happened, the spotlight stayed where it belonged, and the reaction spoke louder than any hospital photo ever could. If you believe boundaries are power and the truth always rises to the surface, hit that subscribe button right now, because here at Coco Gossip, we break down what others are afraid to say, and you do not want to miss what comes next.